explosion in northern India. Another 12 killed as landslide swept parts of Colombia. Plus, North Korea fires 2 ballistic missiles into waters between Korean Peninsula and Japan. Hello and welcome to the World News on voptv. I am Joy Adesua Iromoseli. We begin in Nigeria, where the Sultan of Sokoto Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar has declared today, the 19th of July, as the first day of Muharram 1445H. The Sultanate Council of Sokoto announced the declaration in a statement on Thursday. The Sultan is the head of the Nigerian National Supreme Court for Islamic Affairs. Earlier on Monday, he urged Muslims to look out for the new moon of Muharram. Al-Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar and is considered to be a sacred month. Muslims are instructed to observe voluntary fasting on the 9th and 10th days of the month, known as Tashua and Ashura. A landslide caused by heavy rains in mountainous regions of central Colombia killed at least 12 persons on Tuesday and destroyed several houses. Civil Defense Operational Director Ricardo Coronado stated in an interview that the landslide took place in Kertame, a rural municipality in the Cundinamarca province, destroying all in its path and leading to the closure of a major highway. Coronado disclosed that 12 bodies have been recovered so far, with 2 children among the fatalities. Rescue teams from the Civil Defense, the Red Cross, firefighters, and members of the military continue to search for missing among the mud and rubble. The country's most recent large landslide killed over 320 people in the city of Mocao in Putumayo province in 2017. A powerful 6.5 magnitude earthquake in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of El Salvador shook much of Central America from Nicaragua to Guatemala on Tuesday, sending residents in some cities streaming into the streets. The U.S. Geological Survey reported the epicenter was 43 kilometers south and in Tipuca, El Salvador, at a depth of 70 kilometers. That point is outside the Gulf of Fonseca, where Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua all share coastline. In El Salvador capital, residents ran into the streets as the ground shook, but there were no immediate report of damage or injury. When a radio station opened its phone lines to residents around the country, there was also no immediate report of victims. In the country's legislative assembly, lawmakers fled their desks to get out of the building before returning a short time later to resume the session. The country's Environment Ministry advised that there was no threat of a tsunami. In Nicaragua, the quake was felt strongly in the capital and all along the Pacific coasts. Tourists flocked to a giant thermometer in China, showing surface temperatures of 80 degrees Celsius, while the death toll from torrential rains in South Korea hit 44 on Wednesday. The latest extreme weather sparking havoc and curiosity around the world. Wildfires burned for a third day west of the Greek capital Athens, with air-water bombers resuming operations at first light and firefighters working throughout the night to keep flames away from a complex of coastal refineries. In a stifling Beijing, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry began the third day of the talks with Chinese officials, expressing hope that cooperation to combat global warming could redefine troubled ties between the two superpowers. A global pattern of heat waves that have scorched part of Europe, Asia, and the United States this week have thrown the challenge into sharp relief. The World Meteorological Organization warned on Tuesday of increased risk of death linked to excessive high temperatures. Now, North Korea has fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles into waters between the Korean peninsula and Japan on Wednesday. South Korea's military stated that it detected the launches from the Sunan area of Pyongyang, from where the missiles fled some 550 kilometers before splashing into the sea, which the South Korea calls the East Sea and Tokyo calls the Sea of Japan. The latest missile launch came just a day after Seoul and Washington held their first joint nuclear consultative group meeting on Tuesday. The Joint Chief of Staff condemned the missile launches and called them acts of significant provocation, harming the peace in the region. Japanese Defense Minister also confirmed that the missiles flew from up to 600 kilometers with a peak altitude of some 50 kilometers and apparently fell outside Japan's exclusive economic zone, and he added that they may have traveled on an irregular trajectory. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida also condemned the latest launch and stated that North Korea violated the UN Security Council resolutions, which bans it from developing ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons, which threatened peace and stability in the international community. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, a U.S. soldier crossed the border between North and South Korea. Later on, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin confirmed and disclosed that one of these service members was taken into custody in North Korea after crossing the militarized border while on tour. Austin told reporters at the Pentagon that the soldier, who has not been publicly identified, willfully and without authorization crossed the military demarcation line. However, North Korea has remained silent about the soldiers' unusual entry into its territory, which is the heavily fortified border between South and North Korea. A fire that broke out at the military training ground of the Kirovsky district of the Crimean Peninsula has forced the evacuation of more than 2,000 people and closure of a nearby highway. The governor of Crimea disclosed on Telegram that it is planned to temporarily evacuate residents of 4 settlements, which is more than 2,000 people. There was no reason given for the fire, which also forced the partial closure of the major Tavridi highway. Russian security services and Ukrainian media reported that an ammunition depot was on fire at the base after a Ukrainian overnight air attack. Meanwhile, Ukraine stated that its forces shot down Russian drones and cruise missiles targeting the Black Sea port of Odessa before dawn on Tuesday. Moscow described the strike as retribution for an attack earlier this week that damaged a crucial bridge to the Crimean Peninsula. According to the Ukrainian military Southern Command, Russia first tried to wear down Ukraine's air defenses by firing 25 exploding drones and then targeting Odessa with 6-caliber cruise missiles. Serhiy Bochok, the region's military spokesperson, stated that the second night of air attacks on the port city was a hellish one with truly massive strikes. He also stated that the details of damage and casualties will be released later. Now in Myanmar, local school teachers stated that after violence erupted in the country in the wake of the 2021 coup, most high school students in the remote township of Tanglang left their studies and took up arms to support the grassroots rebellion against the military. The World Bank stated in the report published in July that across Myanmar, one of the Southeast Asia's poorest countries, only about 22% of eligible students are enrolled at the high school level. The World Bank stated that enrollment rates in Myanmar education institutions have dropped by over 12% between 2017 and 2023, underlining a crisis in education access. Myanmar was plunged into chaos in February 2021 when the country's military unseated an elected government and violated crackdown on subsequent protests, leading to a widespread uprising that has killed thousands of people. At least 34 people have been killed and 12 others injured after a road accident involved a commercial vehicle and a passenger bus in Taman Rasset in southern Algeria on Wednesday. Meanwhile, 15 people, including 6 police officers, died by electrocution after a transformer exploded near a sewage treatment plant in northern India on Wednesday. Police officer Parmendra Doval stated that several other people were injured in the accident, which occurred on the banks of the Alaknanda River, and were sent to a hospital in Uttarakhand State's Chamoli district. The cause of the explosion was not immediately known, and the state's chief minister ordered an investigation into the incident. The accident occurred as water levels in most rivers in northern India have risen due to record monsoon rains. Heavy floods have killed more than 100 people in the region in the past 3 weeks. Finally, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, North, has recently launched new offensive against the Sudanese army in South Kordofan amid pleas for cessation of hostilities. Since July 15th, the SPLAN, led by Abdelaziz al-Hilu, has resumed military operations in areas neighboring the cities of Delian and Kadugi. Reports indicate that the SPLM has total control of the oil pumping stations in Kakaraya area south of Delian. Sudanese army spokesman Nabil Abdallah confirmed to reporters that the army successfully repelled an attack by the SPLAN in the Kakal area, which connects Kudugi and Delian. However, military sources in Kudugi say that SPLM forces have seized control of the strategic area, leading to the road closure and disruption in civilian transportation between North and South Kordofan. Sources further revealed that withdrawal of the Sudanese army from the Al-Fashaya military camp on Tuesday morning following the advance of fighting affiliated with the SPLMN near the military site located in Delian locality. And that's a wrap on the world news on VOP TV. I am Joy Adesua Iramoseli. VOP Business Show comes up next. Good afternoon.